Hey, we are two Star Wars nerds, and we are back with another Star Wars Wisdom Talk. This is from Season 6, Episode 3 of the Clone Wars animated series. And the opening quote says, "When in doubt, go to the source."
Yes.
You would think this is common sense.
But it's not.
But it's not. There's a lot of different ways you could take this, but I thought it'd be cool to talk about conflict in particular. People hate that word. People hate the word conflict.
And we all need help when it comes to conflict because, like you said, people hate it. So they try to avoid it, and then nothing goes anywhere. It gets worse.
Yeah. I've learned to love conflict.
You do.
Not in creating it, but in resolving it.
Mm-hmm.
I like to call it, there's a great book I read actually on this called Crucial Conversations. And I like that phrasing maybe a little more than conflict. Conflict has a negative connotation.
Yeah, it does.
I just find in every single one of these, I talk like an HR manager. You know, that's what I end up talking like.
It's your calling in life, I guess.
I guess I'm called to be an HR manager, yeah. But why don't you start on this, and then I can close. I want to make sure I respect the time that we're trying to accomplish this in. I can talk forever.
When in doubt, go to the source. I don't know if you guys have been in situations where maybe you've heard that so-and-so said this or so-and-so did that, and you just take it as truth, regardless of who says it. And months later, weeks later, years later, you find out it wasn't true or it was a misunderstanding and you lost a friendship because of that, or whatever bad thing happens. But there's been so many times in my life where I've heard something, I'm like, did they say that? Like, what the heck? I'm never talking to that person again. They're horrible. Mm-hmm. And then when I go and talk to them, that's not the case. Like, either things have been made up, things have been misunderstood. And because for me, I think about, I know this person, I have a relationship with them. I know that that's not how they talk. So that it creates this good doubt in me where I'm like, I don't know if that's true. And so when I notice now, when I feel that, when I hear something about someone that I know and it's not clicking with me because I know them and it doesn't seem like their character, I go to them. I'm saying, hey, I heard this. Is that what you meant? Is this what happened? Can you tell me what happened here? You know, doesn't sound like you. And pretty much every single time, it's misunderstanding. It's normally not as bad as I think it is. And I think if I never would have went and talked to that person and got to the truth, I wouldn't have like any friends. I wouldn't have these amazing friendships that I have now. I wouldn't have a lot of the things I have. So it's worth it. Like, if you have a good friend and you hear something crazy, like, it's worth it to save that relationship. It's worth it to save that friendship, to find out the truth. And that you can only do that by going to the person who said whatever the thing is or did the thing. You have to go straight to that source because they're going to know the truth more than the person who saw it, from a distance, or the person that overheard a conversation. Like, you overheard part of a conversation. What was the rest of the conversation? Or why did you leave out certain details? That happens a lot because people only want you to hear, their side, which makes sense. And that's kind of subconscious because, that's a whole other topic too. But so when you're in doubt, go to the source and find out the truth, because the truth is what you need to really solve the problem, and most of the time it's not as bad as it's made out to be.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of crazy stuff goes on up here.
Yes.
When your brain has an amazing ability to fill in details, and it's crazy. We have these cat bowls. This will help. I thought you were saying
cat boys. Like,
we do have cat boys, but we have these cat bowls that are elevated, and it's so our cats don't have to like bend down, and anyway, it helps them eat more efficiently, all this stuff you don't care about. But nonetheless, we have 2 sets of them, so when one gets dirty, and it's being washed, we have another one ready to go, adulting. And I'm looking for one of these, and I'm like, where the heck are these bowls? Like, they're not where I normally put them. And you had moved them in plain sight. They're literally in front of me, and I'm looking for them, and I'm asking you, where are these bowls? And you're like, are you kidding me? They're right in front of you. And when I look, I'm like, they are. It's like all of a sudden it's there. And that's just one example of how our brain will adapt just what we're physically seeing to what we are understanding.
To what you know, what you're used to.
Yeah, and the same thing goes for hearing. You know, it's just like the game of telephone. You get all of this information in, and your brain sorts it out. And a lot of times, because of your brain is typically trying to say, avoid danger, avoid hurt, and avoid pain. Yeah. And so all this stuff is getting filtered in there. And then all of a sudden, it's like you hear this one perspective. And it's typically never right. Mm-hmm. But what I found is this whole idea of when in doubt, go to the source. There's a strategy I use, like a template for how to communicate with people. Because whether I know them intimately or not, if there's something that is like living rent free up here and that's driving me crazy and it's fixating like my thoughts, I have to communicate with somebody.
You gotta take care of that.
And I will say this is almost like a proven method. I probably have, what I find is honestly 95% of the time when I communicate this way with someone, it resolves it because I realize they didn't communicate great or I didn't understand it great.
Right.
And it does it. There's a small percent where people are like, no, this is exactly what I meant. But typically it's this, like when you said, I felt, is that what you meant? And typically that's like when you said such and such, I felt hurt, I felt belittled, and is that what you meant? And it's not saying like you made me feel, and it's not pointing fingers. It's saying, hey, I heard you say this is how I felt, is that what you meant? I've literally had people break down in front of me because there was so much hurt and pain in me and in them, and they're like, no, like not at all. And but great health comes after every single time.
Yeah.
And so I'd encourage you to use that. You know, go straight to the person. Don't talk to all these people. Don't DM people. Like, just go straight to them. Just be like, yo, like, is this what you meant? You know? Because if you value that relationship, you'll try and mend it.
Yep.
If you really don't care, just say forget about it and kick them out of your head and just say, I'm done with you, you know?
Right.
That's a separate conversation too, though. I would say the final thing, though, is this, to think about news. When you've seen like an article, you're like, no way, the world is ending, the world is burning, right? And you click it. If you click it, right? And then you read it and you're like, how did they make that headline from this content? And then you see like, oh, source. And you're like, they didn't even write this. They just stole it. And you click the source. And once you finally get down to it, you're like, that's clickbait. You know, it's fear-mongering, all this. And so view your life the same way. Like, you're probably reading a lot of headlines that people are putting out there. But once you get to the source, you realize, oh, it was totally jacked. And that's not right.
Right.
Yeah. Any final thoughts?
No, I don't think so.
Awesome. I was like, we just can't end on us saying, yep, yep, you know, back and forth. But yeah, we are two Star Wars nerds. Let us know in the comments what you think about this. Do you enjoy conflict, crucial conversations? Do you avoid it? You know, let us know what you think. But may the Force be with you always.